All right, I was going to post one of my wise-ass responses to Mr. Anthony Morgan here because he left a number of responses in reference to a video on the ties between the Biden impeachment, Russian interference, Russia investing in the Trump stocks, and blah, blah, blah. That whole video. It says, so, give me your Hunter Biden take, or is all your propaganda crap just against Trump? But of course it is. Nice try anyways. Liberals are so undereducated and willing to follow lies after lies. I find this really, really, really ironic for a lot of different reasons because my take on the Hunter Biden crap is simple. Hunter Biden's laptop, as they claim that Trump and the administration had in their own possession for 2 to 3 years and never did anything with, the hard drive was actually what was in their possession. It came from a laptop. So they never really had a laptop. It was the hard drive they were going after. And the things that were like this evidence and the smoking gun stuff, no, not the porn pictures that the Republicans showed on the House floor because they don't do anything really else except stupid shit. But anyway, not those, but the information that they were saying is so damning against the Biden crime family and Hunter Biden and Burisma and all that other crap. That information that was actually discovered by the cyber ninjas and all those idiots that the Trump administration hired to prove the point actually said that it was downloaded on his hard drive while he was in rehab for his drug addiction that he has worked very hard to overcome, and supported by his family, by the way, especially his dad. Anyway, as for the Biden impeachments, in case you haven't forgotten, there was that guy Lavrov who was the smoking gun, most important FBI informant in the history of FBI informants, and he just had everything he needed that just pinned the Biden family and bank records and a $5 million bribe, and it was beautiful, all because he wasn't wearing my Chinese-made red ties. Bottom line, dude, all of the information that was given for this Biden impeachment was proven not only to be direct Russian propaganda, was actually part of that video that you responded to, talked about that guy that not only was prosecuted and arrested for falsifying documents and basically, lying to federal investigators about Joe Biden. And he admitted that every single piece of smoking gun evidence that was brought up for him was actually Russian propaganda, and he was paid to pretend that he had all this information, which was actually the only real thing that the Republicans put up in 15 whole months of the investigation, which is really funny because there were 2 other witnesses. So just these 3 guys, these 3 smoking gun, beyond indisputable evidence. They have the bigliest secrets, all of that bullshit. The propaganda that I'm talking about here, Mr. Anthony Morgan, is simple. The 2 other witnesses in the Biden impeachment were paid by Kash Patel. If you think of who Kash Patel is, you may not remember because you have a MAGA brain, but I have hope for you because you use undereducated and propaganda in your comment, which is both more than 2 syllables. So I have faith you can understand the big words I'm trying to say. Okay? Every piece of evidence against Hunter Biden and Joe Biden was proven to be bullshit. And after 15 months of this witch hunt investigation, the witnesses themselves admitted all of it was false. And the Russians were behind it. Are you ready for this word? Colluding with the Trump organization, the Trump administration, and the Trump ex-asshole unemployed president at his overvalued golf course is actually doing. It's all been proven. Every freaking word of it. It's all been proven. So when you're talking about my take on the Biden stuff, it's pretty simple. If there was if there was evidence, if there were any facts whatsoever, the Democrats would actually want action to be taken. And the way I know that is pretty simple, too, because every time one of the Democrats get into trouble or there's an allegation against them, they don't try and stop the investigation. They don't try and threaten the judges. They don't say that the DA or the investigator like Ken Starr is evil and should be thrown in jail. And they don't put on these tens of millions of dollars worth of hearings to try and block an actual investigation. They actually get down to business, do what they were paid to do, and they go to work, and they let the investigation happen, and they deal with whatever comes out of the investigation. But most of the time, when there's any allegations against their people, they handle it themselves. And if you need evidence, which I'm sure you do because you seem to be one of those intellectual MAGA people, which is an oxymoron, I know, because most of them are just morons. So anyway, I regress. But when you break it down, very, very simply, you are looking at Al Franken, a professional comedian, one of the most effective senators that were in there. He was the one who got people talking when no one else could. He worked on both sides of the aisle. He was what an American representative was supposed to be. And there were even Republicans that liked him. But while he was a comedian, decade plus before he became a representative of our government, there was a picture of him going like this in a sleeping reporter with a bulletproof vest 6 inches from her chest, making a joke going, he wasn't talking about grabbing him by the pussy and he could just grab him and kiss him when he wants to because he's a celebrity, and when you're a celebrity, you can do that. He wasn't accused of 28 allegations of sexual assault. He doesn't have a 13-year-old girl that was allegedly gang attacked by Donald Trump and Mr. Jeffrey Epstein, which happens to be one of Donald Trump's best friends, and he talked about all the time. So don't you dare pretend that they weren't together, because that's another right-wing propaganda bullshit story, as you say. So here's the deal, pal, Mr. Morgan. My take on the Biden stuff is like my take on every other accusation the Republicans throw out. Bring it. If it's real, we don't want him in office either. If Joe Biden was as evil and criminal as everyone says he is, the Republicans, the Democrats would allow whatever justice to happen because that's what they do. They want to represent that part. Al Franken left his own seat because of the controversy. Anthony Weiner sent the picture of his, basically was kicked out. When Menendez got in trouble, the first hint of the allegation, all the Democrats asked to get him thrown out. Everyone. Some of them said wait until the investigation of the truth is out because there was a concern that it was a Republican stuff, but they let it happen. When the facts came out, every single body wanted him out. That's a fact. Now let's talk about Matt Gaetz. Actually, sex trafficking Matt Gaetz, drugging underage girls to have with multiple occasions, writing in the Venmo memos when he paid these underage girls for blatant sexual acts. In the memos, that brilliant Beavis and Butthead clone is still on his chair. He is under current investigation for many other criminal activities. What are the Republicans doing about it? Donald J. Trump, your Cheeto leader, God almighty Cheeto orange shitbag. What are the Republicans doing? Trying to block every single investigation. Do any of you have any interest in any of the freaking evidence? Do you know what it takes to get a federal indictment? It has to go to a grand jury. It has to meet levels of evidentiary promise. It has to be indisputable with backup evidence and backups to that backup evidence. And they purposely took Republicans and Republican-given evidence every step. So the people like you couldn't pretend it doesn't exist. And yet here you are with all your brilliance still saying it doesn't exist. Have you read any of the indictments? Have you bothered to read any of the actual evidence against them? Did you read the Mueller report? Did you read the AG report? Did you read the tax bill that he was praised for that basically said all the different ways he's going to screw you starting in 2021? I bet you didn't. You just took his word for it because that's as intellectually far as you go on checking your shit. So I got news for you, Mr. Anthony Morgan. Start checking your... Because the bottom line is, we want people who are dirty to be out of office. And I don't agree with every Democrat either. we should do better.